Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. In this tutorial, we'll be learning how to draft and sew this beautiful front twist dress. Now to start off with this dress, we are going to be drafting out a full scale basic bodice, which I already have in my channel. So I'll just insert the link to drafting the full scale basic bodice in the description. So now this is the full scale basic bodice I've already drafted, and I had to place it on a different pattern paper because of the length, and still the pattern paper will not be enough, but I'll be tracing it out, so I will have it in full. So when I want to cut it on fabric, I'm just going to add the length that I need. Now for my full scale basic bodice, my standard neckline was 3 by 3 for the front, so I had to just bring it down by half an inch for the depth. But please, if your fabric is extremely stretchy, just leave it at that 3 by 3, because mine was a bit loose by the time I was done, so 3 by 3 was okay. So from my half length, I connected to my hip line. From my half length to my hip line, I used 9 inches, so I connected it down. And from my half length, I will be adding 1/4 of my hip measurement now on my hip line. Then I'll connect it with a curve from the half length all to the way to my hip line. Now if you want your gown to be straight, you can just bring it all the way down. So that was what I did. But if you want it to be a bit fitted, you can reduce about 1 inch. But I just brought mine all the way down. When I'm going to be cutting it on fabric, I will not add what I need. I will just add everything that I need. So I'll just connect. So I'll add the standard length that I need on the fabric. This length is not going to be enough because the pattern paper is not long enough. So now this is what I have. So I'll just go ahead and cut it out. At this point, please add your seam allowance, so you know that you already have everything. So now I'm just going to be using my tracing wheel to trace out the bust points, my dart line, my half length and everything, because I'll be needing it. So now I'm bringing down my bust span measurement, my nipple to nipple measurement. I'm bringing it all the way down. So I'll just reconnect and use my tracing wheel to trace it out as well. So make sure that you trace everything that you have on your basic bodice out on the other pattern paper. So at this point, like I said, add your seam allowance. It's going to be easier if you don't add it now. I forgot to add mine. You'll be able to add it later, but this is going to be better to add it now. So for this fabric that is stretchy, you can just add half an inch. It is very okay. But I added 0.75 for mine because I was going to weave. I still took it out, so like I said, the half an inch is perfectly fine. So I'm just going to be rolling out everything so that you can see it clearly. So now I've already traced everything out. Now for the back, I'm just going to trace exactly what I have on my back basic bodice. Now the way I did it for the front, I brought down my hip line measurement and added 1/4 of my hip allowance, and also just connect it. I connected the straight line all the way down as well. Now for the dart, I'm just going to be taking what I already have here on the dart, and I will bring it to the side. Now you notice I also have a zipper bulge reduction allowance there. I'll take it in and bring it here and just reconnect it. So I've already taken everything out. You know, this back bodice is not going to be having a joining. It's also not going to be having a zip. It's a very stretchy fabric. It is a mesh fabric. So I'll just reconnect everything. So the zipper bulge is out and the dart is out. So already I'm just going to be having a straight back bodice block. So everything is already taken out. So now what I will do, I will just cut it out. I'll just cut everything out. So no need for me to go in by that half an inch because the fabric is going to be unfold. Now for the front, now we are going to take out the half length so that we can work on the lower part, the skirt part, where we'll be having our slash lines. Now the part where I'm covering is the part that is going to be having the longer slash lines. Now for my slash lines, I will be coming down from my waistline. I just had to bring down that bust band line. So I'll be coming down from my waistline by 2 inches. So the slash line doesn't start directly from your waist. So from my slash lines, I'll be coming down to from my half length, I'll be coming down to my hip line, and then I'll just rule out all my slash lines. You can rule it as much as you want. So I'm indicating that place as BP. It is my breaking point, so I will know that that part is where I have a breaking point. by the time we're already slashing, you will know what I mean. So please kindly indicate those you'll be needing it. So now I'm using my marker pen now to rule it out so you can see it clearly. Remember that middle part is our break point. That was why I wrote it there. So now I'll be cutting this part open. I'll be slashing it open, but please indicate your up and your down, the parts that are going to be touching each other. Please kindly indicate the part that will be your up and your bottom part, so when you want to cut on fabric it doesn't get confusing. At this point, like I said, hope you've already added your seam allowance. So now I'll be starting by slashing the front. I just had to stop slashing the back and I went ahead to slash the front. I cut through the break point and then I started slashing the down part, the lower part. So I'll slash the lower part all the way through. Remember, write everything that you need to indicate. Write it on the pattern paper because it's going to get confusing if you don't do that. So now I'm going to just tape my slash lines now on the top of the pattern, this new pattern paper, this fresh pattern paper. So I'm just going to be taping it, but I taped it and left half an inch that I'll be using for my joining on the waistline. So I'll just tape everything and open my slash lines. I didn't really use any specific measurements. Now you can rule a line at the middle before doing this, but if you know how to arrange yours, it will still work perfectly. So now I'm going to be slashing the other parts. So the way we did it is like you divided it into two and then you are turning them on different, like you are just going to be from the break points, you are just dividing it into two and slashing one on one side, slashing one on the other side and taping it on the paper. So note that where I have my, that is where is the upper part of this pattern. So now I'm just going to slash it to the end and then I'll also tape it as well. Now after taping it is when I added my seam allowance. Like I said, kindly add your seam allowance on the main block, so you don't need to be adding it now. So if you've already added your seam allowance, you don't need to bother about adding it now. Now I'm just going to connect from this part of the waistline to the other side of it like this. So just connect. There should just be a smooth connection. So I just had to add my seam allowance to this other part as well, so I don't forget. So I will tape it down and then I'll go ahead to cut it out. Note that that part that is straight at the top is your break point. So remember the way we cut it out. So that part is your break point. Now that bottom part is where I'm going to be adding my seam allowance to my skirt length. Sorry. So now I'm going to be doing it for the other side as well, just the way I did it for the first part. So now I'm marking my up, marking my down. I just have to indicate so I don't forget. So by the time you've already spread it, now you know the part that is facing up and the part that is facing down. If not, by the time you twist the dress or you go and cut it on fabric, you might end up cutting your waistline as your hip, your lower part, sorry. So now just tape it down. So I'm just repeating the same process that we did for the other side. Please guys, if you find this tutorial helpful, please don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel. Please, your likes and comments goes a long way to help push the video out there. Thanks guys. Thank you to all my old subscribers and my new subscribers. I really appreciate. Thank you so much, guys. So now I'll just continue taping everything down and make sure that everything is in place. Now I'm also going to be adding my side seam allowance. Remember that the straight part at the top is your break point. So when you want to cut this on fabric, you are going to place it exactly the way it is and place it on the front side of the fabric. You are not going to be turning this over for the both. Now for our top part, I'm just going to be bringing down my bust dart measurements, and then I will just reconnect, and then I will slash it open so I can be able to close the waist dart, because I'm not going to be sewing in a waist dart. So now I'll just slash open the bust dart, and then I'll be closing the waist dart. So our bust dart, we're not going to be cutting it on the fabric, we're just going to be notching it and then sewing it in. So I'm just going to close the waist dart at this point. I will tape it down so we'll know that the waist dart is already out. So all we're left with now is to sew in the bust dart by the time we cut on fabric. Now for this dress, everything that we're cutting, we're going to be cutting it direct, like on the front side. This is the front side of my fabric. Now I'm starting to cut the wider part of our slash lines. The way I placed it is exactly the way it is going to be cut. So it is going to be cut like this, like the fabric, the part that I'm using, the good side of the fabric is what is facing me, and it's just placed on top. So now I've already cut it out and I extended, I added the length. I also did the same thing for the smaller part of it, the other little slash of this is it. So I also cut it and faced the good side. So now for this bigger side, I'm just going to take out the pattern, and then I will just fold it this way, and then I will sew it and leave about 1 inch allowance where I'm going to be passing the other side through. So now I've gone ahead to sew it. So this is what I have. Now this is still the good side facing me. So I'll go ahead to flip it over. So I have to flip it over to the other side, the wrong side of the fabric. Now for the smaller part, this is what we are going to do. We are going to bend it this way and then connect it like this. Please make sure it doesn't confuse you. So just the way I just turned it over is what you are going to do. Like I said, you are going to flip your fabric over to the wrong side. Now from this wrong side is where we are going to be passing the smaller side through. So please kindly repeat this part in case it gets you confused. It is just simple. It's just that you have to flip it to the wrong side. Now this is what we're going to have. You notice now that the darts are now aligning and the waistline is aligning. That smaller part now is the waistline. That tiny part is the waistline. So I'm just going to sew this way and sew on the sides as well. Now this is what I had when I've already gone ahead to sew it. Now I'm left with the slit. So you can sew as much as you want. If you want your slits to be open, you can leave it that way, but if you want it to be covered, you can sew it as covered as you want. So you just bring it out and stretch. Make sure that you sew everything to the edge so that you don't have any opening. You are just going to stretch it in and sew it to the end. So now this is what I've gone ahead to do. I've gone ahead to sew it. Now after this, I'm just going to be working on the upper parts. So I've already cut my upper part like this. Now I'm going to notch the part where I have my dart. Now for my dart not to be too pointy, I'm just going to come out by ½ an inch, so I don't sew it till my very bust point. If not, it's going to be too pointy. So I just use the pin now to pin it down by that ½ an inch that I marked. So I pinned it down there. So I'll turn it to the back, and then I will use my chalk to indicate the part where I'm going to be having where I'm going to be stopping. Remember, I've already notched it, so I know the part where I'm holding. I'll just mark where I'm going to be stopping. So this is what I'll do. Then I'll go ahead to my sewing machine and I hold it this way, and I'll just sew down my bust darts. I'll do it for the both sides. So I've gone ahead to sew my bust dart. Now I'm going to join this part now to the front on the half length, and then I'll also go ahead to join the back. You know, the back is cut on like we don't have any seam allowance in the middle part of the back, so I'm just going to join it to the front as well. After that, now I'm going to work on the neck. For the neck, I will just measure what I have all the way around, and then I'll fold a fabric on bias strip so it can be very stretchy. That's why I said you don't really need to make it 3.5, so you can just leave yours 3 by 3. So I'm just going to measure what I have round on this fabric. I'm going to be doing a turtleneck, so what I'll be doing is I'll just fold my fabric in. Since there's not going to be a joining on the middle parts or the back part of the neck, I'll fold it in, and then I'll just sew it, turn it and sew it. You see what I mean? So now what I have there is what I'm going to mark here, and then I'll be using 2 inch for the length because I'm still going to weave. So by the time I'm done weaving or stitching it down, I'll be left with 1.5. So I'll just mark it, and then, or it still depends on how high you want yours to be. If you are going to be using a turtleneck, you can also pipe in it with this fabric strip on bias as well. It doesn't have to be a turtleneck. You can do whatever you like with it. So now I'm going to open it up, and then I will sew it. You notice the way I just sewed it on this part, then I will fold it back like this. So this is what I'm just going to do. I will just fold it back after sewing, and then I will stitch it down or go ahead and weave it around the neckline. So this is what I'll do, and then I'll connect it all the way around. You can pin it all the way around, or you just go ahead and sew it. You can pin it all the way around to make sure that it is what you have. So by the time you are done with this, you go ahead and fix your sleeve. You can fix any sleeve of your choice. I have a detailed tutorial on how to draft a perfect basic sleeve, so I'll just add it, the link in the description. So I just went ahead to add an A-line sleeve, and that was all for this tutorial. Our dress is ready. So this was me rocking the dress after. I hope you found this tutorial helpful, guys. I'll see you in my next one. Bye for now.